our row, we were one behind the other. You walk up, they hit you with the spotlight. You'd wave to the crowd, 50,000 people screaming and yelling, and they would gave my name, the guy I was standing in for's name, and I waved to the crowd and stuff, and the and after the event was over, um, I saw my wife and my mother and father-in-law were there, and I said, "Did you see me? Did you see me?" And they go, "Huh? Where? What? You or who?" They weren't paying any attention. But anyway, it was kind of a fun thing, and it was kind of a highlight of being a bike mechanic. You're there working, from sun up to sundown with the teams, and most of the guys there just had one squad, 4 riders, and we had 2 squads, so I had 8 riders to take care of their bikes. And it was just so much, you know, you'd have a flat stage, a criterium, you'd be, short blocks and all of that. And those all have to be set up and checked for 8 bikes. And then wheels trued and brakes looking good. And then the next day was a hilly road race. So you have to put on big blocks, free wheels, and go from there. And it was a challenge. And the team manager and the ladies all said, "You really did a great job. You were the best mechanic we've ever had."
Oh my goodness.
But it was just like working in a bike shop. Oh, you got to get this done and this done and this done. It's boom, 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 boom. And if you have the parts set aside and the tools, you can accomplish that without too much trouble. And that was kind of a fun experience.
Oh man.
And
Crazy.
but and there was other little funny things that happened during the race. And I got a call from.
Just a second here, Bo.
Okay.
I gotta start
Okay.
the show
Okay,
here.
great, very good.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Alrighty. All
Sure.
right. Gonna just do a little introduction promo here of one of my sponsors is Bicycle Wheel Warehouse.
Yes.
So we'll give them a little shout out for
Okay.
they do custom built wheels, believe it or not.
You do?
Bicycle Wheel Warehouse in
Okay.
California
What
has an
shop
excellent
is-
selection of
this
wheels
is
to
a,
choose from. They're pre-built, or also you can have them custom built up to various sizes. You can reach out to them directly if you have something unique like the 650 wheel or a different style hub. Therefore, it makes it an excellent bike wheel set company that actually provides good wheel sets without breaking the bank. You will find them being very trusted and true. They really hold up under a lot of different riding conditions and so forth. It takes the standard old school wheel building practices and puts them in a better format. But in any case, this is a wheel set you'll be really love to have. It'll perform for you for a long period of time, and the quality and the attention to detail is superb. You'll find information about this company in the description below, with also my personal coupon code. I hope you find a good wheel set where it works for you.
Hey, welcome back to Noah Guy Bicycle Shop Talk Tuesday. Today I have a special guest. If you could hear me, I hope you can hear and see us both. I have a little bit of different configuration so you can see us both on the vertical live stream there. Feel free to add to the chat and ask any questions. If I can actually use my old man reading glasses and read them, I will ask Bill here. Yeah. So who I have is a local legend, a mechanic from Cyclery, and he worked at other shops prior to that, but I don't know if he'll tell me here in a minute. But he's been in the industry for 30, 40,
45 years.
45 years. So he's got like 10 years on top of me on that. And yeah, things are kind of cooking and going crazy here within the industry. So he reached out and want to talk a little bit about that, of the current state. But before that, I want to give a little gold mining stories of Mr. Bill West here, which was if you worked at Cyclery, well, if you worked in a bike shop in Fort Collins, Colorado in the last, 4 decades, you knew Bill. He's one of those individuals that tested tried and true, worked on bikes, took care of everybody with a heart and soul. And I believe any bike shop has been around for 5 to 10 years has a bill in their arsenal. These individuals resonate and just kind of end up in somebody's shop and just love tinkering and working and being with people and part of the cycling industry. So thank you to joining us on the show, Bill, on Shop Talk Tuesday.
Justin, thanks for having me. And the bike industry is a crazy thing, but we love it, and I love cycling and doing bicycle repairs, and
Nice.
it's been quite an experience. You were saying that working at Lee's, one of the things that I remembers, one moment I'd be working with an orthopedic surgeon, the next moment I'd be working with a homeless guy. So it was, and I would work with everything in between. So it was quite an experience, and there was always something new and fascinating coming through the door.
Yeah, the shop he's referring to is the what we call North location in Fort Collins, which is right across the street from CSU campus and really close to downtown Fort Collins. And downtown Fort Collins has a historical area where they have multi-million-dollar really old houses. So that was the first location I started working at in 2001. Oh my God, I'm getting old.
Probably, yeah.
2002,
It goes
one.
yeah.
Anyway, and that's when I first met Bill, and he just comes out and he just greets me, and he's like super happy, and he's basically sniffing me out, saying, "Who is this new guy?" Because I got like promoted immediately. I didn't start there as a bike mechanic. I was working with my parents at Parker Bikes, and we had to close our doors, and Archie, the owner, picked me up, and it's like, oh, Jesse Porter at the time is the one that kind of did the placement hiring or something like that, and put me there as a service manager. And I was kind of bright-eyed, bushy-tailed about that, because even though I had a parents' bike shop, a multiple location store, and the volume, and this is where the dynamics of each shop sometimes is a little different, and sometimes a lot different. So
Yes.
yeah, remind me a few things of the early 2000s.
To get started, I originally from the Louisville, Kentucky area. I live right across the river from Louisville in Clarksville, Indiana. And there, my father, was a combat pilot in World War II. And when he came back from Korea, he also was in World War II in Korea. And he brought back a Japanese bicycle. And it looked like a little miniature Raleigh DL1, rod brakes.
Okay.
And that kind, and the brake pads came up from the bottom of the rim. The rim was wide, and it wasn't from the side. But that's what I learned to ride on, and it took me a little while. But once I got hooked, I just was always, a rider. After that, my dad bought me an Evans, which is a, funny little American brand, and that was the brand that his parents had bought him back in probably the 20s, and so after I had learned to ride and started riding more, I saw my friends bought at one of the department stores, Western Flyer. It was an English 3-speed, and I'm like, oh my God, I love this machine. Gears, 3 gears. I couldn't believe it. And then I got a job mowing lawns. I was probably 5th, 6th grade, and I worked hard. I bought a 10-speed, and it was a B Raleigh, Benelux gears on it. Steel rims, 26 high pressures, 26, I think they were 26 1.25, and I just loved it. And I started bicycle racing, and there were the Louisville Wheelmen, and the Wheelmen had a pretty good sized club, and I rode a little cinder track bicycle race. I did horrible. I never really physically, a great cyclist, but I gave it my best shot and rode that. And there was the nicest man. He gave me some cycling magazines from England. He was a doctor intern at one of the local hospitals, and I had all of these really cool 50s and early 60s cycling magazines that he just gave me. And oh my goodness, I read through those and looked at those, and those were just got me excited about cycling. And then after that, I still have some of those cycling magazines. And
Oh my
occasionally
goodness.
you can find them on eBay in the UK.
Oh, wow.
And I have purchased a few of those, but and then time went on. I've been a mechanical engineering student, and then got some jobs in industry, mechanical drafting and that kind of stuff. But those things was like a lot of jobs. They hire on technical help, they get the projects done, and then boom, you're on to another job and you're laid off. And it happened to me a couple times, and I thought, I've got to do something different. Bounced around, worked in gas stations and automotive type stuff, and then after I served in the military, I met some other military buddies, and we traveled out west here, and it brought me through Denver and the West Coast, and then when I went back to my home area, I bought a Nishiki Semi-Pro, and that I was hooked. I had been a cigarette smoker that really got me on the right track again. I felt really.
When was this?
This was like 1970, 69, 70.
It's just when I was born.
And it was just, I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe how much better I feel. I'm eating better. Did lots of short rides and stuff around the area. For example, when I first got the bike, there was what was it, Cherry Street Hill or something like that, and I could make it up about halfway, and I got pooped out. And then a couple days later, I tried it again. I made it all the way to the top. I'm like, man, I'm getting in good shape. And then my buddy that I traveled with out here after I got out of the military, he moved to Denver. And so he said, Bill, if you want, we've got a spare bedroom, you can come out. And I said, I've really gotten into cycling, and I really would like to, get a job in a cycle shop. I said, I want to find something I can really sink my teeth into. And he said, well, there's just bike shops really close. And so I came out, I had $35, no car, just my my Nishiki, and I saw the Spoke Bike Shop coming in on Colfax. It was at Colfax and, I can't think of the name, Grant or something like Colfax and Grant, and right across from the Capitol. And I said, well, tomorrow morning I'm going to ride down and see if they can get a job. And next morning, put wheels on the bike, rode down. I said, hey, are you looking for mechanics? He said, we haven't even opened yet, but yes, we need a mechanic. And so I came in, and like most mechanics, where do you start? Assemblies.
Yeah.
So
What shop was this?
This
and
was
what
for
year?
this was at Colfax and Grant for the Spoke Bike Shop.
The Spoke? Like the Denver Spoke or just Spoke?
The Denver Spoke.
Oh, they had another or is that one of the original locations?
They had locations at over DU,
Yeah, that's the one I know of.
and then they had another one over off of Colorado Boulevard.
Oh.
And so they had three. And
Oh,
the
okay.
guy that owned those shops was a fraternity buddy with the guy that had the shop in Boulder.
Okay.
And so they had these multiple shops. And one of the little stories I heard when I started working there, they said, Bill, last year, the Spoke on the hill in Boulder, for back to school, they sold 100 Peugeots in one day. And I'm like, holy, those poor mechanics, those poor assembly guys.
Assembling guys,
And I'm
yeah.
like, and and I think a lot of that was they were, pre-ordered, and some were sold on the spot, and then I worked on there at on Colfax there for maybe 3 or 4 months, and they transferred me over to the DU shop.
DU shop?
Yes.
Were you there when John Bradley was there?
I don't know if I don't remember John.
Okay,
That
so I
may-
think he
that
may have
may
been
have been-
there maybe you were there before him.
I may have been 71, 72. 1972 is when I worked over there.
Okay, so it was probably a little bit before.
And,
He worked there, I forget what year, but I think it was mid to later 70s when American Flyers came out.
Right. It's funny, American Flyers. Well, I met Steve Tessage, who wrote Breaking Away and American Flyers. I was commuting over to DU shop, and I was going through the park there. I can't think of the name of it right now, but riding along, I see another cyclist, and I caught him, and he said, "Just good morning, good morning." We started chatting, and so I like your machine. I said, yeah, we just had a little small talk and stuff, and I said, "I've just moved here from Indiana," and he goes, "Oh, I'm doing a story about a young Indiana guy," and I'm like, "What? Oh, cool!" And we chatted a little bit. So, "Do you know about the Little 500 at Indiana University?" And I said, "Oh, yes." And I was there in '68 at the Little 500 with my girlfriend, and we chatted a little bit, and lo and behold, he gets an Academy Award for the best screenplay.
Yeah.
And for that, and then, but I worked at the Spoke and met other guys, and we.
Did you meet Dong by chance?
No, that was before him.
Okay, so it was before Dong and Kramer. Kramer was the son of
Kramer
the owner,
was
I
still
think.
there, I believe.
Okay.
He was there, and he
had to be
Kramer,
like 4.
Kramer, and there were another guy, and those two guys owned the shops,
Okay.
and they were both fraternity brothers.
Oh, okay.
And but I met some other mechanics, and they said, "Let's start a shop in Fort Collins," and so we opened up a little shop right next to the Mellow Yellow, called the Brand X.
Oh, wow.
And
Brand X, huh?
the
You
brand-
were before your time.
we were cutting edge, but we
edge.
got a Raleigh exclusive. We sold Nishikis out of Petty Cycle Supply in Denver,
Oh, wow.
and Petty was American. Let's see, what was it called on the West Coast Cycle Supply and Petty,
Okay.
and then Louisville Cycle Supply, and there may have been there may be another wholesale distributor on the East Coast, and they were kind of the Petty and Raleigh was kind of our two main lines there, and we had that shop for about 4 years.
Oh, wow.
And College Avenue, there were parking on it. Well, about 1974, 5, they had taken the parking off, and it really hurt the business. We could see it spiked.
Yeah.
And
Crash.
and then I was like, oh, now, well, what am I going to do? Well, I thought, I'd like to work in a motorcycle shop. So I went and I worked at LaForte Yamaha for a little while.
Oh, is that why you got your
And
inspiration?
I was just in sale. Yeah, I got a feeling for motorcycles there.
Oh, nice.
And I worked in sales, and I enjoyed it, but the guy I worked for was quite the hothead, and nice guy, but
Didn't click.
sometimes if you made a mistake, you really heard about it, and just drove me out of there. But I
It's managing through people,
and
not
from
with
there I went over to the bike broker.
Oh, that's right. The broker was
The
up
broker
there.
was right across the street from
right.
Lee's, and
That was another small chain in the Front Range,
yes,
Colorado.
they had a Denver location and up here. I think it originally started up here, but And the guy who started that was a mechanic at Lee's.
Okay.
And he had sold it to Rich Williams.
Okay.
And Rich was kind of he was a salesman, high roller from Pfizer. Or no, was it Lilly? Yeah, Lilly, Eli
Okay.
Lilly. You know,
Yeah.
so he made good money, and his shop was pretty, you know, he brought in a lot of interesting stuff. He went direct to the manufacturers and stuff, and it was a pretty good shop to work for, but my gosh, they didn't pay anything.
Oh.
You know, I said, hey, you know, I think I was $2.25 an hour. And I said, Rich, can you do another quarter an hour? He said, Bill, I can't do that. And I said, well, I've arranged to maybe get a job over at Lee's Cyclery across the street. And he goes, good luck. Goodbye. But the broker was a good shop. They had a lot of great mechanics, and I occasionally still see some of those guys. And Lee's was just such, the camaraderie there was so good. It was just that the guys were nice, hard workers. They had a great location, so they could have a good sized staff.
Was that still off of the Laurel location? Was it still there?
Right, it sure
Yeah.
was.
And what year was that when you started?
And I started there in late '77, just before back to school rush. and so back to school rush was, and they were set up for it. They had an assembly department downstairs. They had large place inventory. They had a garage out back where they could keep even more inventory. And they would sell hundreds of bikes for back to school. And
Was Archie owning the?
now
these
that
are-
was, then it was owned by,
was the original owner, right?
no, he had, Lee Cooper had sold it to this other guy.
Oh,
And
didn't know it was in between.
Ed Russell was his name.
Okay.
And his dad was mayor of Fort Collins, of all things. And but they had it for years, and he really was a good businessman, Ed Russell, and he really kind of built that business and got that to where it was. And you know, they really worked hand in hand with Schwinn, and Schwinn was such a dynamic company at the time. You know, they had their own stores, and it was one of the first branded stores.
Yeah, it was kind of like the franchise style. You can do a Schwinn store, but it wasn't like I mean, they didn't really have super high-end boutique stores like they do today back then, but it was, you know, everybody was gunning as a kid, wanting a Schwinn. It was one of the more solid brands. You're not going to go to Woolworth to go buy a bike. You're going to go down there.
It was a quality machine, and they held up. They were heavy, you know, which was, but they was durable.
Yeah.
And I remember the salesman on the floor telling a customer once, he said, "This bike is really high quality. Just feel it. There's a lot of quality here." And we were just like, yeah, okay, that's not the way the business is going now. But
No,
but
that's the other way around.
I thought that was a hoot, and
Feel how sturdy this thing is.
I had been in the industry for about 5 years at that point, and I thought I knew a lot. And with what was selling at the time, I was pretty well focused on that. But the mechanics there, like, they knew coaster brake hubs, 3 speeds, and they would take me aside and show me, you don't do it this way, you do it this way. You do it this way, it'll get you in trouble. And
Wow.
and that's kind of the way the business was. The other mechanics would help you and show you how to build wheels and how to do assemblies properly.
It was a mentoring system back then.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And that was one of the things that you know, helped me out and got me in where I was and you know, what I had become, and worked there so long and able to. I never thought I'd be able to retire from doing having being a simple bicycle mechanic or working in a bicycle shop. But
Yeah.
it,
Well, you're far from simple. Yeah, Lee's
I've been
is,
called simple before.
yeah.
But,
Yeah, Lee's, their reign from the beginning to where they switched over to, Archie sold it to Trek Corporate, and there's still some guys that still work there that were from Lee's currently. Now it was like 5 years ago, so I think they got close to 60 years of being in business.
Right.
So,
Lee Cooper had it, and I think Schwinn actually came in and would say, you know, they designed the floor and said, we have cabinets here, and this is where you want to display your bikes. They had a system to show the customer how to shift derailleur gears, and it was just a marvelous a place to learn, and you know, they had lots of. Schwinn was big, and
Yeah.
and they were you know, a lot of times the mechanics would be sent back to Chicago.
Yep, Schwinn school.
For training. Yes,
my parents went to Schwinn school.
They fell victim to you know, the retail you know, things that had popped up that nobody saw coming.
Yeah.
And I saw something on YouTube the other night about the Schwinn Stingray. The Schwinn executive said, "No, this will never sell. This is, you know, what do you think?" It said, "Well, this is really big in California. This is what's, you know, and kids of all sizes can ride this one frame size, and you know, the banana seat and these bars go way up here, you know." And it's like, no, they'll never, you know. My goodness, it was a smash hit for Schwinn,
Yeah.
and I don't think they even ever gave him, the guy who designed that, the recognition that he probably deserved.
Sure.
And but you know, Schwinn they put their money in cycle racing, and they had would pick up you know, sports celebrities and stuff. And I was just thinking the other day that here we are, the Winter Olympics, and Eric Heiden had been picked up by Schwinn. He was on the Schwinn team, and he won 5 gold medals in 1980.
Oh, wow.
And I saw something online that said that he had won more medals than a lot of countries. He won more gold than
There's some countries that don't win a medal, so.
Yeah, he was a one-man medal machine.
Yeah.
But the more I read a little bit about him, and he won the National Professional Bicycle Championship, and he was like a pro champion in 1981, and so he was. And he was sponsored by Schwinn, and he did quite well. And we were talking earlier about
Yeah. Start at the top of I cut it in right. He sat down and started going. And I was like, I gotta start the podcast. I wish I caught it earlier part.
This is what, a 3-hour show?
Yeah. We're here 24/7. No, I don't think I have no battery life for that. But yeah, interesting. It's just, I mean, you know, talking to you and talking to like John Bradley, the history and perspectives, and you know, back then, like you touched upon, bike mechanics were mentored for the most part in a lot of shops, and there wasn't really the schools out yet, except for like Schwinn School. They didn't teach you everything nuts and bolts. It's always some old timer like now myself. They would like pull you aside, like, oh, let me show you how to do this, and how to work on it. And it's kind of it's a lost art. I mean, if you're mechanical, you know how to take things apart and put them back together most of the time without extra parts. And if you have that skill set, and not everybody does, but if you have that skill set, bicycles was always a really good place to habitat for a while. And like you mentioned before, it doesn't pay a lot. And that's where, when I started at Lee's in 2001, I think it was 2001 or 2002, and met the other guys there, and there's some younger college kids. I was in my 30s, and it's, you know, when you've seen a school, or not a school, a shop like that, the mechanics are schooled back then at local mom and pop shops, like my parents' bike shop. We would get the kids from high school, cultivate them, and teach them how to build a bike and do some minor repairs. And then we ship them off to college, and then they'd get a college job like at Lee's, and they'd get their skill set better. Then they'd graduate and get a degree and realize this doesn't pay enough here, so I have to go do my actual real job.
Right.
So talking about some of those influences or people that you have influenced, what people stick out in your reign?
I remember working with Greg Thornton, who owns Pro Velo here
Oh
in
yeah,
town.
Pro Velo.
And I had taken him aside, and he goes, "Well, Bill, show me how you lace the wheel." And I laced it up, and I loaded the hub, and then put in the spokes, and showed him the patterns and stuff like that, and how to dish a wheel and all. And a couple weeks later, or a month or two later, he said, "Bill, I'm building a lot of wheels now. I know how, I have a much better plan than what you have." I'm like,
oh, you do now.
and he, he was he's a great learner, and he had, done a little research and stuff, but that was the way that I was shown how to do bicycle wheels,
Yeah.
and I just continued to follow suit on that, but Greg's a great guy, and known him for years, and always just treated me just like a brother.
Yeah, they have a cool little shop in Fort Collins, Pro Velo. So, yeah. So who else? I know. There was one. You're like, I used to know this guy, and he was a builder, or was a salesperson, and his name was Todd.
Todd, let's see.
Big Head Todd?
Oh, Big Head Todd, yes. Big Head Todd and the Monsters.
Yeah.
Which had a
band.
A band and a big hit nationally, was on the Jay Leno show at night.
Oh, were they?
Yes, and it was funny that I said, "Todd," I said, "if you really make it big, I play a mean tambourine. I can set in, I can do a little singing too." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I'll keep you in mind, man."
When was this?
He
Do you
came.
remember
When was this?
This has got to be 90s.
It had to be early 90s, late 80s or so, when he had a #1 hit, and it was quite good. And the funny thing is years later, after he had his big hit, well, actually he hadn't had his big hit quite yet, but he came by and he said, "Bill, we've got a record out and a video." And I'm like, "Whoa, dude, you're something." And I want you to look outside. And I looked outside, and he had a Ford Falcon Sprint convertible.
Oh.
He said, "Look what I've got." And I'm like, "Holy!" I said, "Thanks for sharing that with me, man." And I haven't heard or seen him since. I have watched his videos and stuff. But he had a great hit.
Yeah.
And
they were pretty big, especially in college towns. I was talking to somebody yesterday, a friend of ours, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I was talking to Bill, new Big Head Todd." And he goes, "Who?" It's like, "Oh wait, you're too young. You don't remember." Like at night, it's like everybody do that iconic voice, like,
It's funny that you work with so many people after, you think about it, the average lifespan of a college mechanic at Lee's was about 3 to 4 years.
4
and
to
they,
5
and then they
years,
would
yeah.
move on. And we were talking earlier, it's like, I've worked with 20-year-olds for my entire working career,
Kept you young.
Let's see, one winter we went to see Social Distortion. We went to a
jealous. I
Social
saw 'em
D,
too.
and here I am, gray-haired, and down in the mosh pit, I see these big football players pounding somebody down there. I'm like, "No, I'm staying out of that."
Yeah, Social D, Mike Ness, the singer of that band. I looked him up. He did. He actually worked on the bike shop in California.
Oh, great.
So yeah, and I also, when I was a little punk rock kid in the '80s,
yeah.
I saw him down. I forget what venue, but I saw him. That's Ozalon. Yeah, that's what it was, off of downtown Denver. But yeah, talking about. I mean, that was like one band member. There was one celebrity. Is I think late '90s, early 2000s, right before I started. A kid that came from Hawaii, that lived from Hawaii. His name was Jason.
Let's see, Jason. I'm not sure if I remember her. There was a
I'm fishing here, by the way.
Okay, you better just tell me outright. It's here I am at 78 years old, and I'm staring 80 in the face, which is it's just right around the corner, but my doctor, he said some of the medication you're taking sometimes can impair your memory and stuff. I said, yeah, I know. I can't remember some of these guys that I worked with 25 and 30 years ago. She goes, oh my goodness, you're doing good.
Yeah.
And
Is Jason, I think it's Momoa, to say his name right. He's the guy that he was in Aquaman. It's like the big long hair guy, muscular guy. Didn't look that, and looking at older pictures, he's mentioned on the socials that he worked at Lee's.
Oh, right.
I believe it was the North Store.
Right. And I may have, it's funny, I may not have paid much attention to every other mechanic that was in there. Or
He's probably a salesperson. Yeah, we had two teams, like a salesperson's team too. Not sure if he was, I think it was more
I do
sales.
remember a young guy from Hawaii who worked, and his dad was Australian, mother was, and his mother was maybe an islander, and
Okay.
but I do remember them, and it's funny how time flies, and
I'm surprised you remember me.
yeah, it's funny, and especially when you're not working with somebody anymore, and can you recall that? Well, I want to touch on one thing, and I bought it when I went to the Raleigh factory in 1974 and bought a cool little track bike frame.
Okay.
And I brought it back, and we had this little shop where I worked, and we had lots of young cyclists coming in and helping them start racing, and we had our own little racing team, and so I brought this bike back, and I moved out to Wellington, so I needed a car to get back and forth, and the engine was not very good in it, so I sold that bike, and the bike meant a little something special to me. I had gotten, of all things, 10th place at the state track championship on it, and with not a very good, not a championship level rider, that was important to me, and I felt so good about that. And I sold it to the guy. He won the state track championship on it. And then his girlfriend, she started having problems with her bike. She was as big as him. She got on that bike. She set the state 3,000 meter record, time trial record on the velodrome. And at the velodrome, okay, the CSU Oval. Or what, I'm not sure what the track was at the time, because they used different closed circuit things for that.
Yeah.
And and I felt really tickled about that. And he had gone on to win went to the national championships and stuff. And that kind of meant a lot to me, that here's something that I had built up for somebody, and it's good to see that your equipment gets a little bit of
Use.
years, and that was fun. And I set my best flying lap time on that bike.
Oh.
And I just found another one on eBay UK, and I bought it. And, and the tariffs that
Really, on used?
Tariffs. Where did that come from?
What the hell is that?
And
I've been
it
hearing
added an
horror
extra
stories.
little kick in the jimmies, so to speak. So, I mean, I was like, I think it was an extra 160 or 70 bucks on this 900-pound, bike frame. And, but it was, I'm just enjoying the heck out of that. I'm
nice.
getting riding a little bit on that. Last year I rode 3,000 miles.
Nice.
I'm on the same. I'm actually a little bit ahead of last year now with all this warm weather.
Yeah, we've had some great global warming going on here.
Yeah,
My wife's, she's atmospheric science, like we need snow bad in the mountains.
yes,
We're not
yeah.
going to have water.
yes,
But
yes,
anyway,
yeah. It's those towns like Flagstaff and Albuquerque and those places that suffer when we don't get the moisture.
exactly.
And, yes.
So yeah, you had a big, I mean, you retired at Lee's. And how long ago did you retire? Those
It's been 10 years.
10 years, man, God,
10
time
years.
flies. So you
20
totally missed the electronic shifting and e-bikes.
Oh my goodness.
Lucky.
So coming into Lee's, I see the laptop
blue
and the guy with the plug into the shifters. I'm, oh my, what's that?
I just remember the first iteration of electronic shifting. I mean, there's probably older that I don't know, but I remember Mavic came out with its own
yes.
rear electronic shifting, but it was like a cable, like electronic cable. So it was like
all the way back.
Yeah, all the way back,
Right, yeah.
and it did a whole whopping 8 speeds.
I've got a story on that. We set up a bike for the owner of the shop, Archie, and it had a complete Mavic group on it, and the thing wasn't shifting right. What the heck? And we called Mavic, and Mavic says, "Do you have fluorescent lights in your service department?" We go, "Yeah, sure, overhead." He said, it won't set up well around. They set off they set off an electronic signal that will affect the shifting." And we're, oh my, no.
I can't ride it until you hit
Yeah, he rode on that for maybe part of a season. It was just like, man, take this off. It's not working properly.
Yeah, that was a very short-lived technical. And then I don't think they went back to it for a while, or they didn't. I think they just canned the whole idea, and I don't think we saw electronic shifting until the current DI2 that came out.
I've been, you've seen my MG car that I restored, yes, and I restored that, and I sold that on a internet website called Bring a Trailer, and and it was probably originally for just projects and things like that, but now they're selling Ferraris and it's big business now. And I thought, I had a Schwinn Paramount track bike that I had got from a teammate.
Oh, wow.
And I kind of restored it and cleaned it up, and I put it on Bring a Trailer. And I don't think they had any lightweight track bikes on there, or any lightweight road racers or track bikes at the time. And I put it on there, and you would not believe all of the comments that I got. I had more comments than somebody that was selling a Ferrari.
Oh, wow.
Everybody had a story about their Paramount or their Raleigh International or their, whatever they were riding at the time. And
classic cars go with
people
classic
were
bikes hand in
reminiscing.
hand.
It was like I had 75 or 80 comments on this one bicycle that I sold. And did it bring much money? No. But I covered my cost. And they asked me if I could box it up and ship it. And I said, oh, yes.
Yeah, I can box like no tomorrow.
We boxed and shipped bikes for many
Decades.
years. And
Nice.
there's, being in a college town, you would have to do that. I got a bicycle that shipped out of state that came, and I unpacked it, and they had completely wrapped it in bath towels. I took the bath towels home. I washed them. And
shop rags right there.
They're my shop towels. And I still have a couple of them. And that's probably been umpteen years.
You laugh, but hey, it actually is sustainable.
Yes. For a brief period, I worked at Europa Bike in Manhattan Beach, California.
Oh, wow.
And I lived in El Segundo and worked in Manhattan Beach, and I would commute in and stuff. And it was a really good learning experience. The mechanic, owner of the shop was a mechanic for the Jeton Tour de France team.
Oh,
And so he was really, really well knowledge and was very helpful and helped me with some of my, mechanical skills. There's another, where, well, this is what you do with this campy tool, and so it was very helpful, and he showed me some things I hadn't seen before, and he, when I was working there, speaking about celebrities, Greg LeMond came in
oh,
with
nice.
Greg Dimgen, who was also national champ. And I think
When was this?
This was 1979.
Okay, so
So
right
he
through.
may have still been a junior. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
he hasn't hit his. Greg LeMond, if you don't know, is one of the first Americans to win the Tour de France. So that's
I
the
think
big Super Bowl of cycling.
He won the Junior World's Championship.
Oh yeah.
And then he went on to ride pro and won the professional men's championship. And very nice guy. And the two riders, Greg and his friend, he knew Marcel, the owner of the shop, and,
Okay.
and they said, hey, we've got 1,000 miles in. This was in the spring, or February, and said, how many more miles? What do you have any tip for me? He said, get another 1,000 miles and come talk to me.
Nice.
But anyway, it's funny where cycling will take you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the people you meet, and you realize, oh whoa, working with Bill here, off and on, through the early 2000s, and when I was brought on, Jesse Porter was the GM, the store manager was Sugar, Jason,
Yes.
and then there was Stacy, and
Yes.
Stacy. All three of them end up working at Specialized.
Right.
And I think Jesse Porter is back at Specialized now.
Okay.
He's head of the retail locations, I believe. And he also picked up a People's for Bikes board member type thing. Jason's still around as a Specialized rep, I believe. And Stacy, she just international marketing, I think it was. I forget the title, for Stans, the sealant
Yeah.
company.
I
So
just ran into her.
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
they are. I mean, populating, industry individuals. Lee's, pushed out several people right into the industry that still are currently working 20 years later plus
Right.
that when I met them. So it's really interesting how a small shop, relatively, can produce quite a workforce or members of the cycling industry, which is kind of crazy. I was always kind of hopeful to get picked up and go to the industry side, but I went a different direction. But I love what I'm doing. I mean,
I
it's
think
just one of those things. It's fun.
if you're in the industry, you have to move around. You have to go where the company wants you to work.
Yeah.
And you can't really work from home sometimes. I work with one guy, and he went to work for Tom Ritchie back in the early days, just before the mountain bike boom.
Oh,
I wish I
wow.
could remember his name, and I can remember his face. But and then we had Dean Kent,
Oh,
Clark Kent
yeah.
Bikes, and he was a frame builder and a local, and I helped him, work on, show him the ropes of mechanicking.
Oh, wow.
And he went on to be a big wig.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what he's doing now,
Sure.
but a lot of people come and go.
Yeah.
And it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I just had Gary Fisher on the show a couple weeks
Oh,
ago.
great.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was very entertaining. That guy, really cool cat, but boy, he has stories, and you can't get in a word edgewise. It's like,
yeah.
I can't even answer a question.
Yeah,
But
yes,
really
yes,
pretty cool perspective
yes,
on the
yes,
industry
well,
side of it. as a, basically a knuckle grinding mechanic for all these years, being retired for 10 years, what do you miss the most of working on the bike shop?
Yeah, I think I miss my coworkers for one, and I also miss the customers.
Oh, yeah.
And you never knew what was going to come through the door.
Yeah.
One time after another. We had, being next door to the university, we would have foreign students and foreign professors, and there was always something happening.
Oh, yeah.
And which I found interesting. And people from Italy and Japan and India and all places just from all over the world, and they appreciate you listening to them and helping them out.
Yeah. I think that kind of falls death on a lot of the current industry. But I mean, I remember when I started working at Lee's, I was like the service manager, and people come in and try to help them. They're like, "No, I'm here for Bill." I mean, it was just like, "I'm here for Bill. I'm not gonna." You're too young, dumb, and whatever. Go away. You're wasting my time. I'm like, all right. And he would have a line just for Bill to work on their stuff. So
Sometimes the manager would come and say, "Bill, don't spend any time with this guy. This guy doesn't have a dime." Or new arrivals, from Mexico come in, and I would help them out, and just would they be pissy about the price? No, they paid me full price for fixing flats or mounting tires and stuff like that, and they appreciate it. The next guy that came in was a real estate agent, and he goes, I can do that myself, or like, come on, guy, you're charging me too much. You left my valve adapters off. Why are you stealing my stuff? And like, no, you do a repair, you set down the parts, and sometimes they just become invisible. They go away.
They disappear. You're like, oh yeah, I have a couple things on my bench in my last repair. I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to mail them to them.
That's why it helps to keep a clear, a clean bench. And I remember one time, oh my God, somebody brought in a bike, and it was a box and ship.
No.
And it was a certain size and color, and the work order was very well written and everything, and I boxed it up, sent it out, and I look back, and there's another one that's identical. I sent the wrong bike to Massachusetts or Vermont for Vermont bicycle touring, and they rode it for a week. brought it back, and the other person, I said, I'm so sorry. I cleaned them up and tuned them up and got everybody sorted out. But it was like, we have a hang tag on there, and it's just a number. And sometimes if you don't
match,
yes,
yeah.
And sometimes mistakes will be made, and luckily the people weren't harmed or.
Yeah, as long as there's no injury involved with it. Yeah. I mean, you put yourself in a lot of responsibility working on bikes, because as we know, it could be catastrophic. Like if something goes wrong, and you can be at fault at it. So, double checking and triple checking, and making sure you do it right the first time is super, super important. And that's like the first golden rule for all bike mechanics should learn is safety first.
I remember we had a safety check that we did at the shop, and you would go down and brakes, stem, bars, wheels, front, back, and that kind of stuff. And it saved a lot of little could be problems, and or what especially with mountain biking. You're bonsaiing down the side of a mountain, and brakes are important.
Brakes are important, and tight bolts are important, and you don't want to be like kissing rocks. So.
Well, which reminds me of our first GT carbon mountain bike, and it was kind of expensive, and we brought it in, and it was molded, and it wasn't. It had aluminum lugs. It was bonded in, but there was some molding to the tubes, and but eventually it wasn't selling. We had a few people that test rode it and stuff, and they said, we'll put it into our rental fleet.
Okay.
And the first rental, the head tube came off. And it was like, holy moly.
Yeah.
And it was just like shards of fiber, you know, and, but live and learn
Yeah.
on those things.
Yeah.
And you've got to take your hat off to some of the Taiwan companies for being able to go in and, you know, change a design or make it, test it, and make sure it works properly and is durable and safe.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, the mass, you know, I mean, being in the service department, you're dealing with all the recalls and weird little one-off things that break, and, you know, being a service manager, you're the one submitting all those. And
remember the Shimano cranks that would break?
Yeah,
They
yeah.
had really thin crank arms.
They
And-
still have that recall today. You can still, if you find across one of those, you contact Shimano and they'll be like, yeah, gritting their teeth, like, oh, it's 20 or 30 years ago. But yeah, you get a crank set, a bottom bracket, a front derailleur, and like they have to do the whole drivetrain now.
The
For
the
an
funny
8-speed.
thing is an observation is that I remember there was never any women riders who had the cranks fail on them. And I'm just being, you know, just my observation. And,
Yeah.
But the guys would come in, the arms would be broken off and on a crank arm, which was important. But it may have been something, it might have been more weight related,
Could have.
you know.
I mean, there is weight specs that are, you know, like on frames. Like I've sized out of a lot of the daintier carbon
Right.
frames, and like, oh, you can't ride that, or wheels, or you'll break them,
You know,
or cause
you-
risk of damage or hurt yourself.
I've seen some wheel failures on, like at the Perry Roubaix, on the cobblestones.
Oh, God, yeah.
With carbon fiber
Oh, yeah,
wheels. Come on now. And I think the one thing that really surprised me about the past, maybe a year or two ago, where they're able to adjust the tire pressure on the fly at the
Oh, yeah, those-
Perry Roubaix.
Yeah,
I'm not
that's some
exactly,
weird adapter thingy. Yeah.
and it's you have a button where you can go down in pressure or bring it back up.
That goes to, you know, like the Indy 500 car race, right? Nobody drives those vehicles like on the streets or just recreational. Nobody. But yet in the cycling industry, we have those super high-end, worked on by a mechanic every day bicycles, and they're released to the public, and it's like, that is just a train wreck ready to happen, and it been happening. So I find itself currently in the last few years, I think it's a big push for most bike mechanics going, can you bring steel frames back with external cable routing, please?
Make it easy
Mechanical
to-
shifting,
yeah,
like just
yeah.
like the 90% of the cycling people out there, that's all they really need or want. And the industry has just gotten, I mean, what do you think about the new internal? I got one in my stand right now. I got a custom build, and I got to lace the hydraulic lines through the steer tube and through the frame.
Oh my goodness.
And through the inside of the headset bearings.
Oh my goodness.
So, and everything capsulizes to look clean and sharp looking, but
That's a mechanic's nightmare.
I mean, how?
Yeah.
I mean, you want to
Yeah.
start? You know, man, I'll find some new curse words after doing this thing.
I heard a funny joke, and the joke was, the guy said, "Bill, I remember when the bikes were heavy and the riders were light." And that was from Mike Curlin.
Oh.
Yeah, I remember Mike. And he was a GT rep, and
Yeah.
he was in the another guy that graduated from Leeds to
Oh, nice.
the industry.
Nice.
And
Yeah, we had, I mean, in the shop, we'd have billisms. So you'd always have these little phrases and catchphrases we'd catch and all that kind of thing.
oh yeah, some crude.
Some very crude. Field full of pillows was more of the appropriate. Running through a field full of pillows.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
Bill's dropping these in the service, and you're like,
barefoot.
college kids are walking around with old people and homeless people. It's
Yeah.
like, what are you doing, Bill?
I told the one guy, I said his bike had more dents than a New York taxi, you know, but anyway, yes.
Yeah.
We had fun.
Yeah.
We had fun at the shop and coming up with little funny things and
Oh
funny
yeah, it's
observations.
just observations, see weird things. Yeah, just with the minor volume of repairs I do, like I get some weird things, and like pull a bottom bracket out and it'd be like, sand. You're like, what? And a couple dead bugs. You're like, where did this thing live? And things like that. Or like the one I worked on is like the front brake caliper. You know those removable bits, that Allen bits from like a hand screwdriver or a drill bit,
Okay.
was stuck in there,
Right.
and rusty, like it's been there for at least
Yeah.
a decade.
Yeah, I've seen some cars with like a box end wrench stuck, just setting on the back of the starter bolt or something.
So like, oh, somebody
I'm
forgot their
like,
tool.
Hey, where did that come from?
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
yes.
So looking at the industry, and we're about at the top of the hour. I know if you have a little bit of time, I want to talk about the cycling industry in the sense that, our perspective as bike mechanics, we basically look from the bike shop service area out onto the sales floor. And in the current state of the state, I know you're familiar with what's been going on, but you're still in touch with, what's going on, because you just can't get out of it 100%. It's not like you just never ride a bike again and go golf and bowl the rest of your life. So this up and down, we've had up and downs in the industry. The mountain bike boom that Schwinn didn't pick up crashed. We were very service heavy in the 90s. The early 2000s was the concept store period where Specialized and Trek were trying to make everything pretty. And then you missed out when everything transitioned to corporate stores. Trek was buying up a whole bunch of stores, and between everything that's been going on, I think we're definitely in an anomaly. But I could almost thread all, from every boom, there's a bust. It's like all the busts from the last 40 years is all happening all at the same time right now.
Yes. It's
What's
funny
your thoughts on that?
how things come full circle and how, what is hot one year is not the next.
Yeah.
And I remember we would get GT bicycles, and you would get them, and it would be a regular bike, rigid fork, rigid frame, and there would be a shock in there. And the box had been opened, taped up, where they slipped a rock shock in there. And
Yeah, you could buy them rigid fork or a front suspension, and then when you ordered the front suspension, they'd open up and throw the fork in there for you, the mechanic, to install.
right. And it wasn't
A builder.
It was close, but it wasn't. You have to do a lot of hands-on to get it working right.
Yeah.
I remember we had during that transition, we would have like maybe 50 mountain bike forks just setting one after another, and they were threaded then.
Yep.
And no threadless at that time.
Yeah.
And in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I heard a story from one of the mechanics when he was overhauling a Mag 21, which is one of the early air oil. You have something, and
Oh, this is the quad. Sorry, the quad 21. Got this thing floating around.
and that one. So he was doing the overhaul on it, and to get the lowers off from the fork crown and the stanchion tubes, you would put a little bit of air in it, either with a pump or just touch it with the compressed air. And the mechanic, who was maybe a little sloppy, went in, just hit it, and the fork lowers shot across the shop floor or shop area and stuck into the drywall, just deep.
Oh yeah, I remember hearing that story.
Luckily, no one was
in the way.
in the way, and who would think that a bike shop would be a dangerous place to work? And, but
Well, I mean, right now we have like exploding tubeless wheels, and there was like a recall on one of those pre-charged floor pumps that you charge up to like 100, 110 or psi.
Right.
One of the canisters on those, there's a recall. And like the canister will blow.
Right.
I mean, it's like, yeah, you're talking about air pressures and so forth.
I think
It's
the
dangerous.
ideas are good, but how much testing and the real time do they get before it comes to market?
Well, also the e-bike. I mean, I have the traditional park stand, but nowadays you got to have the lift that picks the bike up off the ground, because you do that all day long, you could be busting up your back. And we're on our feet all day, so we got the rubber mats thing figured out to help that out. But man, my knees are still killing me. Hitting.
It takes a few
55.
years off of that
Yeah.
for them to come back. And,
Yeah.
I remember the doctor going in for a physical or something, and he was like poking at me and stuff, and he says, "What kind of work do you do?" My left arm, my left side from lifting bikes up,
Doing this.
it was a little bigger. My chest was a little bigger on this side, smaller on the.
Hunchback. I'm an e-bike repairer.
It's funny. It's
Yeah.
funny. And
So what do you think with the industry where you got big brands like Trek, and with their corporate stores and Specialized, they have a few corporate stores, and the other big fish is not name known, but Pond Holdings or Pond Bike,
Right,
which owns 50 different companies from Cervelo, Cannondale, used to be GT. They shelf that line down to even Schwinn and Mongoose department store levels. I think they're in. I think we're in a huge shift from bike, like in the 70s and 80s and 90s. The bike brands were begging for you to sell their stuff, and when it hit like 2000s or late 90s to 2000s and the teens, they were like, we're gonna narrate and dictate the market. This is what we build, and this is what you're gonna sell. Period.
Right.
And they really doubled down on more and more and more expensive stuff. Well, right now nobody's buying expensive stuff. And the big negative feedback loop on that is anything under $1,000 is what needs to be focused upon. I'm not sure if they're gonna build anything.
My take on it is what's happened is it's like recreational stuff takes the hit when the economy gets a little bit soft, and it's the first thing that gets hit, and regular automotive transportation and that kind of stuff is not as bad, but people are not buying new cars and things like that. It's an up and down deal, and the bicycle industry has always been in some kind of
There's always been some kind of crisis.
boom or bust.
Yeah.
And it seemed like people would come in, after Greg LeMond won the Tour de France or something, and say, "I want that bike,"
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah, well, sure,
Yeah.
or something that says Greg LeMond on it, or Lance Armstrong.
Oh yeah, Armstrong factor. Yeah.
Yes. And speaking of Lance Armstrong, I remember one of my friends was a coach for the cycling team in Colorado Springs, and a young Lance Armstrong came in, and they did the testing on him, and he was the best heart rate and recovery time of anybody that had ever tested, and so he had natural talent. It's not all of the juice.
It's not all the juice, but yeah, I mean, you have to
the
have
juice
some
may have
talent.
helped him to get
Yeah.
over the top.
And the thing
but-
is in my perspective, they're all like doing something. It's just who's getting caught, kind of thing. But then again, that's not our world, really. I mean, yeah, we talk about it, but our real world is taking care of our customers that come in. there are no, some of them are racers, novice, but
Yes.
they're, and sometimes we'll get an
They're
anomaly.
few and far between.
Yeah, the
yes.
farm, 99% of the people that we deal with on a daily basis are just the recreational people that just want to have a good time, do some novice racing, or just doing it for health reasons. So that's where it's like, for us, it's very important to really focus on that. And the service departments have always known this to some degree. And I think this is actually, starting last year, this is pretty much the year of service departments. Because that's, people are getting their stuff fixed up. They're not buying new. So our repair load is going through the roof. And for bike shops, typically a bike shop, their income is like, 10% at best that's
right.
generating to the
Yes.
revenue to the whole business. So that's going to have to make up some extra room.
It's really nice to see people out commuting to work. We just had the winter bike to work
that was
day,
last Friday,
and
yeah.
I just love that to death. I love to go over and ride to it and hit some of the breakfast stops and stuff and ride with maybe 20 other riders going the same direction towards campus or downtown in Fort Collins.
Yeah, it's a big event.
It's nice. It makes me feel good, and it's cycling is so good for the environment. It's so good for the rider. It has so many pluses, and it when I get out and go into it in the morning, fresh air during the summer months and stuff, and I think to myself, I'm such a lucky guy to be able to do this, and here I am, almost 80 and still being able to get going. Maybe I'm the exception. So many of our coworkers and friends and riders have passed away, and it's we're
Well, it doesn't
only
hurt.
here for a temporary time. Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt to ride.
It doesn't hurt to ride, and it's good
Yeah.
for you. Now, it's not totally safe. Cycling
Can be
I
has
see
dangers.
people out with no helmet, and it's just really you need to kind of protect yourself, and it can save your butt.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
but,
So any words of wisdom or billisms for the next crop of mechanics that they're actually listening to us
Yeah.
old geezers talking about working on bikes?
it's crazy. I talk to people, and it's so much in the e-bike type stuff, and it's really changed. But I think there's still people out there that will ride, and for the mechanics, you just have to be, you have to be patient, and you have to find somebody that can show you the way, and then you can, once you learn a little bit, you can make your own way.
Yeah.
And it can be done. And I had, I knew people in the bike shop back east, that I could see that were like, he's making it, maybe I could do that too. And granted, they were, they weren't rich,
Yeah.
but they met a lot of people, and it's a good lifestyle, I think. And,
Yes, it's more of a lifestyle than an income.
yeah.
But well, luckily for today's day and age, there's a lot of resources, videos and so forth you can watch on YouTube, Facebook, or whatever to help you, guide you. It's once you, like, if you have the core principle down of doing things, then you can just go the direction and just be better. But the bottom line is make sure your stuff is safe to ride. Be part of the community, not just a bike mechanic that's grouching in the back. I've worked with a few of those, and I was one of those for a while too. So it's one of those things that you got to really put yourself in their shoes, and I think that really helps guide your community, which will help your shop excel and be a better shop, and that stands out from all the other ones, especially with the retraction of locations.
Sure. You want to make a nice experience for the customer and the rider, so to make them want to continue on with it. And if you get pissy with them or don't treat them fair, they remember that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why they come in. You know, Bill did a little minor adjustment or aired up my tires, and some people, and you think about it, there's a lot of people that they don't have the money to and can't afford a car, and or have their license taken away.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of that.
Yeah, we have a lot of those,
Those
yeah.
are some of. So there's been a lot of new riders.
Yeah, new writers insertion because of that. Well, anyway, well, thanks,
Okay,
Bill, for
yes.
hanging out.
Yeah, it
and
went quick. I really enjoyed it,
Yeah.
and I hope it was entertaining to the.
I'm sure it will.
Yes,
Sure it is.
Yes. One little thing, I went out, went on a little training ride with some of my bike buddies, and they said, "Okay, Bill, we're going to sprint to the next 2 telephone poles up here," and I'm getting ready to pour on the coal. And one of the guys reaches down, grabs his water bottle, sprays me in the face, and it temporarily blinds me. And then they, "Choo!" I'm like, "You guys!"
Even though your age is still mad. You know.
And I got the biggest laugh out of that, and they just thought that was the funniest thing. And it's those are little moments that that you can remember. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but it was
good.
fun. It mostly good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, in any case, well, thanks for hanging out with me on Shop Talk Tuesday, and thanks for Bill Wester to join us and tell story time of the old-time mechanics.
Yes.
In any case, if it's nice in your neck of woods, please go for a ride, and thanks again for hanging out with me in the garage. Join me on Friday for Freak Out Friday, and also, if it's Tuesday, it's Shop Talk Tuesday.
Yes.
Everybody have a wonderful day, and
Okay.
if it's nice in your neck of woods, please go for a ride.
Yes, and Justin, it was great working with you for so many years.
Oh, it was
It's
a
been
pleasure.
fun.
It was my pleasure.
You were a pro.
I try to be. I play one on YouTube.
Yeah.
In any case, thanks, guys. Everybody have a wonderful day.
Good luck.